The CBS Sports family of networks. The highest standard in television sports, including the CBS Sports Network, Showtime Sports, CBSSports.com, and the CBS Sports Radio Network. The best in sports online, on radio, and on the air. CBS Sports. Expect it here.
Here in the Lehigh Valley, it's the winter event they've been waiting for. Lehigh, Lafayette. Two rivals separated by just 12 miles. Yet connected for more than a century by 215 prior encounters. One is the defending Patriot League champion. The other is driven to rise to this year's title. After the Leopards won in January, the Hawks look to answer in the latest edition of the tradition-rich series known as the Rivalry. Next on the CBS Sports Network.
The shot. Oh, it almost went in. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Big finish. Dreams to come true. Good as it.
Welcome inside the Kirby Sports Center in Easton, Pennsylvania. The CBS Sports Network presents the 216th encounter in the rivalry. Lehigh at Lafayette. These are two teams down the stretch of the Patriot League's regular campaign with designs on at least a number 2 seed in the upcoming tournament. Lehigh was knocked out of first place on Monday by Bucknell. Lafayette has been among the league's hottest. And hi, everybody, it's great to have you with us. Bob Sosi along with the former Army guard Chris Patola. And Chris, the Mountain Hawks, as mentioned, knocked out of first place on Monday, beaten by Lafayette last month, and a shakeup before the start of today's game. Eventually, we're going to see a matchup of the two best point guards in this conference, one of whom, though, won't be starting.
Well, Mackie McKnight, late for a team function, won't start today. I'm certain we'll see a lot of them in this game, though, early. Both these guards, McKnight and Johnson, the two most dynamic playmakers in the league. They hurt you in a lot of ways. They really create havoc when they get into the paint. They can score, create for others. Tony Johnson for Lafayette. In Lafayette's last 2 games, he's hit 2 buzzer beaters for them. Like McKnight, dynamic in transition, can score at the basket, or really create for others. You need guards to win, and these are the league's 2 best.
Johnson led 5 Leopards in double figures last month at Lehigh. Today, the Mountain Hawks look to get even. From a sold-out Kirby Sports Center in Easton, Pennsylvania, on the campus of Lafayette College, Leopards set to entertain the Lehigh Mountain Hawks in their second encounter of 2013. Lehigh's Brett Reed in his 6th season as the head coach of the Mountain Hawks today with an opportunity to add to those 112 wins and become the winningest head coach in Lehigh history. But he also had to make a decision coming into this game regarding his starting lineup. 3 players, Anthony DeRazio, B.J. Bailey, and the aforementioned Mackie McKnight, spotlight player in our open, all late for a team function, each out of the starting lineup but expected to play. So Schaefer, Servakai, and then Goldsboro, freshman in the lineup to join Greiner and Knudsen. While Fran O'Hanlon for Lafayette saw his team take an early lead and never relent, rolling over the Mountain Hawks in their first encounter this year. Fran O'Hanlon, longest tenured coach in Patriot League history. And in the middle of that huddle, C.J. McCollum. He's been absent throughout the Patriot League campaign, but the Mountain Hawks nonetheless have gone 10-3 without McCollum in their starting lineup as the all-time leading scorer in Patriot League history. Chris Patola, as we take a look at this matchup of the Leopards and the Mountain Hawks, coming off that first encounter, a rout in favor of Seth Hinrichs and Lafayette. Let's take a look at today's keys to the game.
For Lehigh, they've got to limit turnovers. Lafayette, a team that forces 14 a game. And for Lafayette, they have to get back. Lehigh, the leading scoring team in the Patriot League. They really get out and run. Lafayette, a team that shoots a lot of threes. Those long rebounds can often lead to runouts. So getting back, so important for Lafayette, but also getting a good shot every time down the floor.
Lafayette coming off late game dramatics in back-to-back wins over Bucknell last Saturday and as well Holy Cross on Wednesday. Remarkably, in fact, winning in Worcester, Massachusetts, despite allowing 67% shooting by the Holy Cross Crusaders. And Chris Patola, Tony Johnson has had the penchant for delivering the big shot at the end for Lafayette. And the Leopards have won 6 of their last 8, and they've gone 9-4 since a visit to Stanford. Played the Cardinal close, gave them some momentum and confidence coming into this league campaign. As we look back on the first matchup of these teams, breaking it down by the numbers from Bethlehem. 55% shooting for Lafayette.
Yeah, to 39, and really what was the key in the second half, Lafayette went 6 of 12 from 3. Lafayette, a team that really is going to stretch the floor. They use their trailer well, a lot of spacing to create for open shooters. And the big thing for Lehigh, with Mackie McKnight out of the lineup for them to start here, you lose one of the best point guards in the league. So how that directs your offense and affects it in the early going here, we will see.
And on the tip-off with Jeff Clark, our lead official today. Yesterday, he worked in front of 35,000 for Georgetown at Syracuse. Today, he works along with Justin Porterfield and Paul Hovenen in a sold-out Kirby Sports Center. As the Mountain Hawks go inside to a double team, Knudsen.
That's a matchup that Lafayette's going to have to deal with all game. Knudsen in the first matchup between the two teams had 12 and 5, was pretty effective scoring inside.
Meanwhile, Trist very effective for Lafayette in the first matchup, but he turns it over here for the Leopards in traffic.
We talked to Brett Reed about his team, and one of the things that concerned him in their last game against Bucknell, which was a loss, and in the first matchup between these two teams, was conversion rate in the paint, being able to score when you get it close to that rim.
Knudsen just 5 for 13 in the last encounter. Finds Severkai, spots up for 3. Long rebound out to Scott. Mountain Hawks of Lehigh have been the top scoring team in the Patriot League each of the last 4 years, but Lafayette, a team that likes to play at a similar pace. These are 2 of the best three-point shooting teams nationally. Schaefer, drive and pitch. Knudsen looking for his second field goal.
Good start for him. He's gotten great position on the first 2 buckets. Just right there at the basket, looking for him early. And with McKnight not on the floor, trying to establish Knudsen in the early going.
Johnson lets it go for 3.
And there's the other effect, not having Mackie McKnight on the floor. A guy to guard Tony Johnson. We expected these 2 guys to go head-to-head, and what a stretch over the last few games Tony Johnson has had. 2 game winners for them.
Last points against Bucknell and Holy Cross with 4.5 seconds to go and with 3.5 seconds to play respectively. Now he scores the first point for the Leopards here, and Griner answers inside the arc. Bowden Griner struggled in January, 3 for 14 against Lafayette.
He did, but the two primary starters with this lineup that Lehigh has out here off to a good start. You know, it's ironic we're seeing three guys who normally come off of Lehigh's bench in this game. Only 6 points from their bench in the last 2 games for Lehigh.
Scott got it from Hendricks. Another 3 for the Leopards. And it's funny too, Chris, because a couple of days ago, Brent Reed, the Lehigh coach, told us he had shortened his bench recently in Patriot League play and thought he would give them more opportunities. His guys in reserve today didn't expect to do it in the manner he has with the lineup changes again because of the 3 players late to a team function.
Well, and you look at Lehigh, I mean, this is a team that's leading the Patriot League in scoring, averaging 73 points a game. But in their last 4 games, they're only averaging 60 points a game, which is obviously a difference of 13. And a lot of that has to do with bench production.
Leopards defending with Johnson on the ball again. Schaefer, the sophomore, goes baseline, back out to Knutson. Gabe Knutson across the lane, leaves it short. Geese with a rebound. Leopards rebounding much better of late. They've been playing defense far better of late, according to Fred O'Hanlon, their head coach. Geese at 6'9", with long range. Hit 5 threes in the first meeting. Hendricks probing, pulls up. Still tied at 6. Goldsboro, one of the better freshmen in this conference, against Trist. Good help by Geese. Kaczynski, he's embraced the 6-man role for Lafayette. Missed in transition there with a 3, but here's a guy who can fill it up in reserve for the Leopards.
He really can. He'll play starters minutes. I mean, already we see him in this game. Came in about the 17-minute mark. So they go to Fran O'Hanlon has gone to Bryce Scott in the starting lineup, really for defensive energy to start games.
Determined Knutson with his 3rd field goal. He has scored 6 of the 8 for the Mountain Hawks. Johnson, and to drive and kick. Chris operates in low, nice move.
Well, we haven't seen a defensive masterpiece so far, but if you like offense, stay tuned. This is your game. I mean, so easy so far for both teams to score around the basket. Really no resistance from either team on the interior.
Schaefer sees the opening, off the mark, rebound to Kaczynski. Lafayette with the opportunity for its first lead. Back into Trist. Geese. In and out. Rebound to Goldsboro.
Geese, that stretch 4, just plays out on the perimeter, has a nice release. Can really knock that 3 ball down.
Knutson with an easy flush. No! Goldsboro could not finish.
We talked about conversion rate around the rim. Brett Reed talking about that being a concern. I think he'll add missed dunks in the paint to that list as well.
Those problems early in the last meeting compounded themselves for the Mountain Hawks. Johnson with a force. That errant release sends us to our first timeout. Under 15 minutes to go here in the opening half. A good start for Lehigh on the road thanks to Gabe Knutson. The Mountain Hawks senior has 6 of the first 8. For Lehigh, Bryce Scott, a couple of 3s for Lafayette. Lafayette Leopards and Mountain Hawks even at 8. This Lehigh team coming off back-to-back losses, including a defeat against Bucknell on Monday night. And the Mountain Hawks, Chris Spatola, generally a very good shooting team. Not the case to begin this week, though.
No, it's where they really struggled against Bucknell the other night. At Bucknell earlier in the year, they shot it great, but the other night, folks, this 6.7 right here is not the Russian judges' score out of 10. That is percent. They were 1 of 15, and it affected their defense. As you know, when teams don't shoot well, it can oftentimes affect your effort and intensity on that defensive end, and it did the other night against Bucknell.
And 6 for 15 from the line as well for the Mountain Hawks, although they did get a better score from the UK judge. Backdoor to Knutson. Make no mistake about it. Gabe Knutson throwing it down from Holden Griner. Lehigh back in the lead, 8 in the early going for the Mountain Hawk center. Lafayette answers a backdoor of its own to Dzinski.
Well, when both teams space the floor so well, and when you do that, those back cuts are there. Nice finds by the passer, but a nice hard cut from Knutson, and then there from Dzinski.
Nathaniel Musters off the bench for Lafayette. Hop step in the lane by Knutson, drawing the foul on Musters.
Both these teams, their big guys can play outside, and so can their guards here. A nice cut from Dzinski. Anthony D'Orazio falling asleep. And when you play 5 guys out on that perimeter, that paint area is wide open. Nice start here for Gabe Knutson.
First foul on the game picked up by Musters, the native of Australia. Lafayette has a couple of guys from the land down under. Meanwhile, Lehigh's Gabe Knutson is at the line, having spent part of his youth in Australia. As Bailey makes his first appearance off the Mountain Hawk bench. B.J. Bailey, along with Anthony D'Orazio and Mackie McKnight, each suspended by head coach Brett Reed, at least at the outset, removed from the starting lineup because they were late to a team function. 1 of 2 for Knutson. Two of those 3 for the Mountain Hawks have taken the floor. McKnight still missing. Hendricks misses but runs to his rebound. Johnson to drive and pitch it out. Good ball work by the unselfish Leopards. Right back at you, Bryce Scott. Unable to connect. Knutson cleans up. Holden Griner on the drive across the lane.
There's that versatile Holden Griner. Plays that 4 position for Lehigh, but can really take you outside. You have to respect him shooting the ball, which opens up that drive. And again, with nobody in the paint, nobody rotating over for Lafayette.
Hendricks 3, and he got it for Lafayette. The Leopards again get even, tied at 13, just under the 13-minute mark.
Seth Hendricks is having a terrific year. Such a versatile player, can score at all 3 levels, can hit the 3 like you saw there, can score in the mid-range and also at the rim. Good size, gonna be a really good player, just a sophomore.
He's had 7 20-point-plus performances for Lafayette in the first matchup of these teams, put together a double-double with 13 points paired with 11 rebounds. Shot clock counting down, it's under 5. D'Orazio blocked by Geese. Levi Geese had 5 rejections last month against Lehigh. The all-time shot block leaders at Lafayette College. Nice screens for Dzinski. Off the dribble, Knutson to the rebound.
Well, both those shots, we saw good contests, and when you have shooting teams, so important that you close out and contest shots. And on both possessions, good closeouts. There's another one, nice shot fake from Schaefer.
Schaefer with the miss, while McKnight waits at the scorer's table to take his place. Johnson drives in deep and draws the foul. It's the first on Lehigh. Gabe Knutson setting the tone for Lehigh, but tied with Lafayette at 13. 216th encounter in the rivalry. return here in Eastern Pennsylvania. Lafayette and Lehigh are tied at 13 inside the Kirby Sports Center. And perhaps someday they will take what should be known as Fran O'Hanlon Court, Chris Petrolo. When you look at the job of the Lafayette head coach, Fran O'Hanlon, one of the longest tenured coaches, in fact, nationally at one school. Jim Behi, Mike Krzyzewski have courts named for them. Perhaps Fran O'Hanlon Court. Not too far away.
Yeah, only one of two coaches who were in the league when I played back in 2002. Fran and Jeff Jones from American. You know, the one thing about Fran O'Hanlon, I will say, every time I talk to him, I learn something about the game of basketball. He's a pleasure to talk to, a really great competitor, and what a job he's done with this Lafayette program.
Well, you learn about basketball, plus you have a nice laugh, too, because he's also one of the funniest people, not only in the Patriot League, but in general. Fran O'Hanlon, three-time Patriot League Coach of the Year. And when he took over at Lafayette College back in the mid-90s, the basketball program was mired in a 22-game losing skid. By his fourth season, they won 22 games, and they won back-to-back Patriot League championships as well in the late 90s, playing with non-scholarship players. Now Tony Johnson, his senior leader at the point, has given Lafayette its first lead of the contest. Last time out, Lafayette took a 14-13 advantage and never looked back. Now it's 15-13.
And now we see Mackie McKnight on the floor. So we'll see the impact he has. Not starting here today. It's been a while since he's come off the bench. We'll see how he gets going in the early going.
Little full court pressure by Lafayette. Another sign of the evolution of Fran O'Hanlon. He hasn't been inflexible as a head coach, Chris. Used to play the matchup zone, now primarily man-to-man. Kozinski with a late closeout. DeRazio misses, however.
Well, that's all they played when I was at Army, was that matchup zone. And so tough to play against, especially when they had some long wings who could really get out and contest the wings and contest shots.
By the way, Chris Petrolo made himself at home here at the Kirby Sports Center. Still holds the record for an opposing player with 43 points for the Army Black Knights at Lafayette's expense. East with a missed three. McKnight handling for Lehigh. I've got McKnight matched up with Scott. Bailey back in the lineup after missing a couple of games, and he powers one home, drawing the foul. So an and one opportunity for B.J. Bailey.
When McKnight has the ball at the top of the key, Lafayette really sinking in. So when McKnight kicked that out to B.J. Bailey, the defender closing out, and Bailey does a nice job driving the closeout to his left, and then using his ability to spin back and finish strong at the rim.
Trist coming over, picked up the foul for Lafayette. One of only 3 fouls in the first 9.5 minutes of this matchup as Bailey delivers from the line for the Mountain Hawks. We talked about Lehigh expanding the reserves today. Conroy Baltimore didn't play against Bucknell on Monday, but he checks in early for Holden Griner.
Well, part of that may be Brett Reed trying to expand his bench a little bit. Baltimore's minutes have been cut down because Justin Goldsboro, who actually started today, has played so well for Lehigh.
Baltimore matched up on Johnson. Trist catches in the low blocks, rejected from behind. Bailey coming over for the help.
Just a nice post feed, gets to the basket, but that's how you rotate over Conroy Baltimore. Hands straight up, does not foul. A lot of times the tendency is for the defender coming over to either block or to put his arms down. Baltimore, nice job staying straight up.
Trist with the hook, won't go. Bailey has the rebound. Lehigh, let's face it, was flat defensively in the first matchup of these teams. Bailey tried to dish it off to Knutson. Lucky for him, gets it back on the deflection.
You know, talking to Brett Reed about B.J. Bailey, they really need him. He's been in and out of the lineup. A couple games he hasn't played due to injury. But this is what he does. Looks like it to me off of Lafayette. I don't know about you, but Bailey's so good off the bounce, getting into the paint, and really, without McKnight, he's the only other guy who can do that regularly.
McKnight set up Knutson beautifully, but the senior could not finish. Now McKnight takes matters into his own hands.
stepping into the passing lane. Very athletic when C.J. McCollum went out of the lineup for Lehigh because of an early January injury at VCU. Brett Reed said, not putting Bailey specifically in McCollum's category, but he said he's got the skill set that's closest to C.J. on our team with the kind of athleticism he brings to the floor.
He does, and the combination where he can shoot it and also take you off the dribble. But he has battled injuries, and he sat out first half of the season with a head injury, and he's been in and out of the lineup for Lehigh.
He's had a history of concussion problems, as Chris referenced, but also more recently an ankle injury. Kept him out of the lineup against Colgate last week. Now try to stay loose, even though he's gone to the sideline. McKnight into the lane, good ball fake, off the glass. 4 in a row for Mackie McKnight. Lehigh back in control of this game early on a 7-0 run. Johnson picks it up and puts it up.
Now we're settling into the matchup. Tony Johnson, Mackie McKnight, showing you their versatility.
Baltimore drives in deep and draws the charge.
Nice job by Dan Triss, stepping in, taking the charge when you're not a shot-blocking team, which Lafayette is not. Another way to protect that basket is to step in and take charges. Way to step off of Gabe Knutson by Dan Triss and take that charge.
Triss, like Musters, from Australia for Lafayette. Brad O'Hanlon, who spent a lot of time internationally playing and coaching, did some clinics down under. Now Triss set up from the mid-range with a miss. Rebounded by McKnight. Tough catch by Knutson. Schaefer forces it up. Johnson off the crossover. Tough shot to defend.
Wow. Tony Johnson playing in that two-point mid-range, and it's worth noting Tony Johnson leads the Patriot League in field goal percentage at 53%. Doesn't shoot a lot of threes, but those kind of mid-range are at the basket for him.
Now Schaefer this time able to drive in deeper for Lehigh and knock one off the glass. Corey Schaefer rarely looks to score for the Mountain Hawks, but he's put it up several times in the early going today. And he's given Lehigh a 3-point lead once more. Johnson answering at the other end.
Well, when you got it going, you got it going. And Tony Johnson has it going.
Johnson has scored the last 8 for Lafayette. Bob Sosi along with Chris Patola here in Easton, Pennsylvania. In this Patriot League encounter of the Mountain Hawks of Lehigh and the Lafayette Leopards, 216th time they've gotten together in men's basketball. Here's Tony Johnson shining early for the Leopards.
Shake and bake, step back and it's down.
They've long been known as the Zoo Crew here at Lafayette. Lehigh, though, with a 1-point lead on the road at Lafayette College. And coming up on AT&T at the half, we'll have a feature on the Patriot League's recent success in the NCAA tournament. And we'll also highlight some of the conference's superlatives in 2013. So stay with us for AT&T at the half. Of course, Lehigh last season beating Duke in the second round of the NCAA tournament. Monarchs have won 2 of the last 3 titles in the conference. Currently in second place. Lafayette try to take over that second spot on the inbound set. Nicely done by Lehigh. Then DeRazio picks up a foul. Paul Hoveden, the officials today summoning both players together. I think that's a great job of officiating in an emotional rivalry game.
Bob, Lehigh has 18 points in the paint to Lafayette's 4. They have 11 field goals, 9 of those are in the paint. Something has to be done if you're Lafayette to shore up that area inside and around the basket. Everything to the rim for Lehigh in the early going.
Chris, Paul Hoveden did settle down both players, but he did not call foul on DeRazio. Somewhat surprising with that takedown move.
He may not have seen it.
Keys with the entry, nicely done to Trist. And you wonder now, after what just took place, if the whistles will blow more frequently. This game has been played really free of the stoppage. There have been only 5 fouls combined through the first 13 minutes. Knutson picks up his first, though, for Lehigh.
Dan Trist so effective in that game over at Lehigh. In the first matchup between these two teams, had 14 points, 7 of 10 from the field, and really did a nice job on Gabe Knutson in that game.
Pretty well-rounded line for Trist. One exception, though, just a 66% shooter from the stripe. Connects on 1 of 2 for Lafayette as Hendricks comes back in. Leopards as a team among the nation's best, 73% overall from the stripe. Defending down 2 under 7 minutes to go in this opening half. McKnight into Knutson. Kudzinski with a foul for Lafayette.
Another area where Mackie McKnight is just at his best. They set that double high ball screen. They call it a horn set. 2 ball screeners start on the elbows. McKnight can go either way. Starts out to his right, came back to his left, and hit a rolling Gabe Knutson at the basket.
Knutson now with double figures. His 10th point of the afternoon. It was a very brief blow for Dan Trist. Went to the bench. About a half a minute, if that. Knutson in and out on the free throw attempt. Miscommunication by Hendricks and Tuzinski. Lafayette players let it go out of play. Possession belongs to Lehigh. Fran O'Hanlon doesn't buy the explanation from Paul Hoveden. McKnight to inbound for Lehigh to DeRazio. They've come off the bench today, and DeRazio sets up a cutting Goldsboro.
I don't want to belabor the point, but again, that was a point right in the paint, right at the basket to the cutter, Justin Goldsboro.
Trist is bumped from behind. Goldsboro with the defense. Jeff Clark on the call. When you talk about the start for Lehigh today, again, Chris, playing without the regulars in the starting lineup at game's outset. McKnight, DeRazio, Bailey, guys who took their place more than held their own. Now Lehigh has the advantage by 5.
Well, and Lehigh coming off with 2 losses in a row, and I know the shakeup was as a result of them showing up late for a function, but sometimes just a different look. And Lehigh has struggled in those 2 games, partly because their bench is giving them nothing. Only 6 points in those last 2 games total from their bench. So like you're saying, maybe a different look. Chance for those guys to come off the bench and start. And maybe a wake-up call for a Mackie McKnight, a B.J. Bailey, not starting.
Just meanwhile at the line for Lafayette, set up by Johnson. Dan Trist now with 4. One thing about the Leopards, you've always got to be ready. if you're on the bench, to have your number called, because Fran O'Hanlon will substitute throughout the contest. Second chance off the missed free throw. Scott with the ball fake, sets up the tray.
He does go to his bench, and most of the time he's bringing off a shooter. And one thing you can say, Lafayette, a young team, but they all play with great energy, and they all believe that their next shot is going in.
With good reason. Scott, a 43% long-range shooter, just hit his 35th three of the year. Missed on the drive, cleaned up by Johnson. Tony Johnson looking to push, cut off by McKnight. And a turnover by the Leopards. Third of the game for Lafayette. Talk about these teams' prowess from outside, but they've scored a lot inside.
Well, sometimes emphasis can really make a point, and Brett Reed clearly has emphasized getting to the basket, not settling for outside shots, and it's been shooting a high percentage, and when you're outscoring a team 20-4 in the paint, something has to be done with your interior defense if you're Lafayette.
Griner spinning from the foul line. Holden Griner scored 11 in a row during one stretch on Monday, helping Lehigh rally late against Bucknell. Now has 6 today. Lehigh's done so much damage on the interior. Lafayette, meanwhile, has outscored the Tomahawks 12-0 beyond the arc. Nicely done inside. Maneuvering in low is Alan Flanagan, who didn't play in the first game because of a knee injury. McKnight to DeRazio. Passed up the open look and gave it to Knutson. Smart decision to set up the foul on Flanagan.
Lafayette doesn't like the call, and I understand. If they do get some rotation here, they challenge and contact with that body. Sometimes if you're out of Alan Flanagan like he does there, you've got to send a message. When a team's had it easy inside, sometimes coming over and, you know, being a little physical can do the trick.
And again, the rotation continues for both teams. DeRazio departing. He's been playing much better of late, too, for Lehigh. Knutson delivers. 3 for 6 from the line, though, continuing to shoot subpar coming up Monday's performance.
Well, we'll
keep it here, Chris.
Yeah, so we've seen both teams get to the line early in this game. And we go back to the last game over at Lehigh between these two teams. Only 19 fouls in the entire game, which tells you one of two things. Neither team very physical, and both teams shot a lot of outside shots, a lot of threes taken in that game.
Lehigh took the timeout here with 4:32 to go in the opening half of this men's basketball encounter. And coming up today at 4 p.m. Eastern, we'll have a great one in college hockey as the 4th-ranked BC Eagles take on the number 17 Merrimack Warriors. The J. Tom Lawler Arena in North Andover, Massachusetts. Tune in to see this top 20 matchup only on the CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. How about Quinnipiac atop the college hockey poll in D1? Of course, Jerry York at Boston College. Eagles perennially a contender for a national championship. Pull off another win in the Beanpot. Merrimack has been a great story in college hockey in recent years. Kaczynski got the defender off his feet. Could not capitalize, and Griner has the rebound for Lehigh.
A good look there if you're Lafayette, though. They're at their best when the ball is moving. They're getting cutters and hitting spaced shooters.
Another easy 2 for Goldsboro. 4 points in the paint for Lehigh. That's 24 overall among the 32 for the Hawks. Turnover by Lafayette. Lehigh gives it back as Griner lost his balance. A good one in the Patriot League. Second time around for Lehigh and Lafayette. The Hawks have the lead. They're on the road. Lafayette. Lehigh with a 4-point lead over its arch rival as we begin the final week of the regular season in the Patriot League. And yesterday, Army routed American in Washington. First time in the last 15 encounters at Bend Arena that the Black Knights prevailed. Meanwhile, today, Navy at Colgate, Holy Cross at Bucknell. The Bison with an opportunity to close in on the regular season championship. Currently in sole possession of first place by a game. Scott with a miss, rebounded by Schaefer and Chris Patola. What a job by the Army Black Knights. With a school record 4 Patriot League wins on the road this year. Griner, a bit out of control.
The two hottest teams in the league right now are Army, and then who we're seeing here, Lafayette. Both those teams playing their best basketball of the season. Lehigh has Lafayette today, and then we'll have Lehigh Army next weekend on Saturday.
And again, the seedings in the Patriot League more important in many respects than any other conference because of the conference tournament format. Johnson open for an instant, exploits the opening with another 3 for Lafayette. Johnson has 14. The Leopards have their 5th tray of the day.
Folks, Tony Johnson is putting on a show. He is showing you all levels. When they're on the steal, he's done it from 3 to mid-range, and then he says, I can play defense too.
Well, leads the Patriot League in that category, better than 2 steals per contest for Johnson. Bad decision, though, by Hendricks trying to thread a pass into the post. McKnight in a hurry to Schaefer.
When we mentioned the keys, we talked about for Lafayette stopping Lehigh in transition. It starts with stopping the basketball. And part of getting McKnight under control when he's out in the open floor like that, you have to step up and stop the basketball.
So Fran O'Hanlon takes the timeout for the Lafayette Leopards, down by 3 with 2:14 to go in the opening half. Contrasting one encounter with the other. Last month at Lehigh, to see the difference. Lafayette controlling the interior. Today, the table has been turned.
Well, they took 22 threes, Lehigh did in the last game. And then there were only 9 fouls called on them. So, I mean, there just wasn't the sense of urgency, the effort from Lehigh in that first game. But we have clearly seen the emphasis put on this game by Brett Reed to get stuff going to the basket. And a lot of the reasons they're getting the stuff at the rim is they're creating rotations for Lafayette. And they're breaking down that Lafayette defense by getting into that paint. A lot of it being McKnight. But those wings being able to just penetrate and hit the cutting big guys, Knutson, Goldsboro, Griner, has been effective for Lehigh in the early going.
All but 2 of the made field goals for the Mountain Hawks have been in the paint. Lafayette, meanwhile, has thrived beyond the arc.
Well, and for Lafayette, when you're giving up that many points in the paint, it puts so much pressure on your offense to have to match that point production. They're easy buckets for Lehigh. Lafayette having a harder time scoring. Good to get a second chance point right there on the O board.
Levi Geese have 17. First matchup of these teams, a season high for Lafayette forward. McKnight was left open. Can't do that.
I guess we know what we're doing, highlighting Johnson and McKnight in the open. They are responding to the call, going head for head here in this first half.
Although now you've got Griner, longer defender, usually a wing for Lehigh, out on Johnson. Geese on the screen and roll. Instead, the pass, a diagonal to Hendricks in the corner.
That's a shot Lafayette typically makes. A good challenge, though, by Mackie McKnight. The cross-court pass from Johnson. McKnight with a sense of urgency to close out on the shooter, Hendricks.
McKnight, 4 for 4 from the field. 8 points in all for Lehigh. Griner puts it on the deck and picks it up. McKnight from the corner. Got it. Possession began with McKnight driving in deep, eventually drifted out wide.
It's all drive and kick. You know, they're getting into the paint too easy off of the dribble and then just kicking the shooters.
Meanwhile, the shot clock dark, a chance to hold for the final shot for Lafayette. The widest margin of the opening half with a 6-point Lehigh advantage. Johnson with a kick to Scott. Lets it go with 3 to go. Weak side rebound. Hendricks back up and out. And so for the Lehigh Mountain Hawks, try to avenge an early season loss to Lafayette, asserting themselves inside today on the road here in Easton. And they scored 11 of the last 15 points of the opening half to take the largest lead of the day, up by 6 at the break. Coming up from the Kirby Sports Center, it's AT&T at the half.
The CBS Sports Network presents AT&T at the half.
And from the campus of Lafayette College here in Easton, Pennsylvania, we continue with AT&T at the half at the break of Lehigh and Lafayette. And hi, everyone. Of course, we are closing in on the final week of the regular season here in the Patriot League with the NCAA tournament around the corner. Traditionally, this has been a one-bid conference, yet it's had its share of magic moments during the madness of March. And earlier, we asked Patriot League coaches to reflect on their best memories as they look to create some of their own in a couple of weeks when the NCAA tournament gets underway.
One of the things that the American public really relishes is the underdog story. And last year, our Lehigh University team was able to defeat Duke.
One of the all-time shockers.
That was a magical moment for our players, a memory that they'll carry forward for the rest of their lives. And, you know, also a validation of why the NCAA tournament is so special and so important.
You just love to see those types of things, the Cinderella story. You find out, wow, Bucknell beat Kansas, and it just, you know, that David can slay Goliath.
The NCAA tournament. This is what dreams are made of for basketball players.
I think of the NCAA tournament in great moments and great coaches. Coach Wooden's teams at UCLA winning several national championships in a row that really can't be repeated.
Seeing Pete Carrill and Princeton beating UCLA.
Christian Laettner shot.
Puts it up. Yes!
He's smart shot at Indiana.
Smart takes the shot. Indiana wins the championship.
My younger brother, Marseille Brown, he was a part of two of the bigger upsets actually that ever happened. And he won at Richmond with Coach Beeline, those guys. They upset South Carolina. And then 2 years later, he was at Hampton University, and they upset Iowa State. And he had a chance to defeat Jamal Tinsley and those guys.
The run that Davidson made in 2008, in more recent history, or Butler's run.
In American, it wasn't so much playing in the tournament, but getting to the tournament for the first time. Such an emotional time, not just for me, not just for the players, but for the entire American University community. Getting to the big dance for the very first time, that was really, really special.
To play, Miami up in Boston, that was a tremendous experience I won't forget, and I don't think anybody on our team at that time would forget.
Just the upsets and the buzzer beaters and all those kinds of things, it just captivates everyone's attention, whether you're a coach or a player, you're a fan, or even a casual fan.
And again, here at Lafayette today, it's Lehigh and Lafayette, two teams bidding for the number 2 seed in the upcoming Patriot League tournament, with designs on making some magic moments of their own during the madness of March. Back with Chris Patola to take a look at the Patriot League at large. Welcome back inside the Kirby Sports Center as AT&T at the half continues at the break. Welcome back inside the Kirby Sports Center as AT&T at the half continues at the break of Lehigh and Lafayette here in Eastern Pennsylvania. These two teams today, of course, vying for second place in the conference standings, a week away from the end of the Patriot League's regular season. And by this time next week, of course, the seedings for the upcoming tournament will be finalized, and coaches will have decided on the individual honorees for 2013. And as I welcome in my broadcast partner, Chris Patola. Chris, a lot to look back on this season. When it began, there were two guys who had accounted for the last three Player of the Year awards, C.J. McCollum of Lehigh, Mike Muscala of Bucknell. They figured to be there at the end. McCollum, of course, literally out of the running because of injury. Muscala, though, the leading candidate for Player of the Year at this point.
He is. It started out as a two-man race, became a one-man race when C.J. McCollum hurt his foot. And Mike Muscala, no player has had a more dominant season in the Patriot League than he has this year. You look at a couple other guys, Stephen Lumpkins averaging a double-double for an American team that's struggling of late. And Gabe Knutson, the leading scorer on the league's second-best team. But as we said, it's really a one-man race with Muscala way ahead of the pack.
Next week, we're going to see the hottest team in the conference, the Army Black Knights. They're led by a cavalcade of freshmen, including the front-runner you believe for Rookie of the Year honors.
Yeah, there's really two guys. I mean, Kyle Wilson and Tillman Dunbar have had a great year. Wilson has led really Army to a 7-5 record. That's why I give him the edge. But both these guys, Dunbar leading the conference in assists. Kyle Wilson has done a nice job scoring the basketball. Both service academies have some young potential going into the future.
And Army has a young head coach in Zach Spiker, who's done a terrific job with the Black Knights this season. But there are several other guys, certainly, who are candidates for Coach of the Year award.
Well, when you look at Coach of the Year in the league, it's really splitting hairs. But I think the job that Brett Reed has done, losing the nation's leading scorer in C.J. McCollum, and to have this team at 8-3 in the conference, 18-7 on overall. Fran O'Hanlon with this young team, 8-3 in the conference, and Dave Paulson leading the league with his Bucknell Bison. All three of those guys have done a fabulous job this year with their teams.
Well, the second half is coming up from the Kirby Sports Center. Of course, the outcome of this game will go a long way to determining perhaps a couple of those honorees. Second half around the corner. This has been AT&T at the half.
This has been AT&T at the half. AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. Rethink possible.
And we ready for the start of the second half of Lehigh and Lafayette. Mountain Hawks, who lost the first matchup of these teams by 21 at home, today on top by 6. And with Chris Patola, Bob Sosi, glad you're with us today. And Chris, we expected Mackie McKnight of Lehigh and Tony Johnson of Lafayette to be standouts today. They've been for both of their teams.
They really have. They've both put on a show, the show we expected to get. Tony Johnson for Lafayette has really saved them. 14 points. They have 33 at the half, almost half their points. Really fortunate that he came to play today.
McKnight didn't start this game for Lehigh because he was late for a team function, but he made his impact off the bench. But Johnson was in the lineup for Lafayette, doing just about everything for the Leopards.
He has. He's done it there in the mid-range. Has 2 threes as well. Has done a nice job defensively. And then Gabe Knutson and Mackie McKnight both with 11. Knutson everything at the basket. And for McKnight to not start and come in and get 11, pretty good. Here, we're going to see exactly why Lehigh having so much success in the paint. They're breaking Lafayette down off the dribble. You see the penetrate, the kick. Holden Griner gets into the paint. This is the area where you want to play. He kicks out to a shooter, and here they get a three. Just on a penetration and kick, and when you have 26 points in the paint, it's going to start to draw help at the end of the half. There, the kick out. Good unselfish play. And the reaction from Mackie McKnight. They are fired up with a 6-point lead.
Well, again, Lehigh has done it inside out. Lafayette staying in this game because of the perimeter shooting, 5 for 15 from three-point terrain.
And only 5, we look at that, and only 5 three-point attempts from Lehigh on 29 field goal attempts. They've really attacked the basket today.
It's really a marked difference for Lehigh in terms of its outside shooting. Stone cold against Bucknell on Monday, but today getting a lot of high percentage shots inside.
They are, and that's something going into halftime. Lafayette's got to shore up. The rotations are there, but then at the end of the half, we saw the kickouts off those penetrations. Lehigh doing a really nice job sharing the basketball.
Mackie McKnight matching his uniform number with 11 of the 16 bench points for Lehigh. And one of the 3 regular starters not in the lineup at game's outset, but they'll all be on the floor reunited for the start of the second half. McKnight along with DeRazio and Bailey joining Knutson and Griner for the Mountain Hawks. They're the defending Patriot League champions. They had won 5 in a row against Lafayette before the Leopards routed the Hawks in Bethlehem last month. Largest margin of victory in this series for Lafayette since 1999. Again, each team today with designs on the second spot in the conference standings. Trist straddling the line for 2.
Well, Lehigh did a nice job in that first half, closing out on shooters. Trist not really an outside shooter, so Knutson playing a little off. Here we see already a change in defense, the 2-3 zone from Lafayette.
Fran O'Hanlon of Philly Guys, the head coach for Lafayette, learned the matchup zone out of a 2-3 from John Chaney. The outstanding legendary coach of Temple, of course.
Well, that's one way to protect your paint, is get in that zone, pack it in. Have to identify Lehigh shooters, though.
Knutson has to recognize the shot clock. He was surrounded in a triple team, and amidst all those Leopards, turns it over for Lehigh.
Brett Reed all over Gabe Knutson there. Knutson went baseline, I think forced it a little bit, and like you said, Bob, into the double, triple team.
Okay, Chris, we've seen the first move by Fran O'Hanlon, the adjustment out of the half. For Lehigh, you can't go away from penetration as Johnson turns it over. Really an unforced error for the Leopards there.
Well, you can't get lazy defensively if you're Lehigh. What I mean by that is Lafayette, a shooting team. You've got to continue to close out hard on their shooters. Lehigh held Lafayette to 5 of 15 from the three-point line in that first half.
And how about at the offensive end for the Mountain Hawks going against the zone?
Well, gaps is huge. So, you know, here you see B.J. Bailey with the shot. Can't settle for those, but you want to get into those natural gaps, top of the key and on those wings. And then Gabe Knutson inside, just play off the penetration of those gaps.
Henricks turns it over, and Griner cleans up for Lehigh.
And if you're Lafayette, you cannot have those live ball turnovers. Lehigh's so good getting out and running.
Well, the keys to the game at the outset by Chris Patola. Henricks creates the contact. That'll be a block on Griner. A huge opportunity for the Leopards as Griner picks up the first personal.
And hopefully this getting to the foul line gets Seth Henricks going. Only 1 of 6 in that first half. His 1 field goal being a 3. They need him to score. His versatility, really an asset for this Lafayette team. And we mentioned coming back from the half, Tony Johnson really the only offensive output for Lafayette.
Stark contrast to the first encounter when the Leopards had 5 guys in double figures, including Henricks. Has 4 today with that made free throw. Scott in the backcourt along with Johnson applying some pressure for Lafayette.
Little three-quarter court, 2-2-1. Again, both defenses just trying to get Lehigh out of rhythm. I think in that first half, Lehigh, everything was comfortable for them. Fran O'Hanlon just trying to shake it up, make them have to think on each possession.
McKnight steps into the 3. His first miss from the field today. DeRazio, though, with a second chance, missed on the fadeaway.
And what can the zone do? It can lull you into becoming a three-point shooting team. In the early going, Lehigh settling for those threes. That zone putting Lafayette in good defensive rebounding position. Nice little run out there, and getting to the foul line helps Hinrichs then come down and get that one in the paint.
Hinrichs scored the last three for Lafayette, but Griner connects on the last three for Lehigh. Hawks lead back to 6. Geese very quiet today. Into Trist. Goes to work on Goldsboro. A bump in the turnaround. Down she goes.
What a change we've had. Lehigh now has become the shooting team, firing away from outside, and Lafayette pounding it away on the interior.
Griner calling for it. Lets it go. 4-3. Got another. His second of the half for Lehigh. Well, he really struggled in the first meeting of these teams, but he said this week, I'm not going to miss those same shots this time around. And thus far, he's been true to his word.
Well, they're getting good ball reversal against the zone, and Griner just going from corner to corner. Lehigh spacing the floor against the zone, rotating the basketball, and 2 open looks for Holden Griner.
Griner now with 14. He's helped the Hawks build their largest lead. Difference at 7. Johnson try to cut into it. He does. Another 3 for Tony Johnson.
He's not going to let them lose, Bob. Tony Johnson, as big a competitor as there is in this league, his last time playing in the regular season in this rivalry game.
Yes, these two teams very much could have a third encounter in store in the postseason as Griner draws the foul. They met in the Patriot League Championship several years ago when Lehigh prevailed at home. They're meeting late in the regular campaign here. A close one from Easton. In the rivalry, Lehigh by 4 over Lafayette early in the second half today in Easton, Pennsylvania. And tonight at 8 Eastern, we'll have the PBR Built Ford Tough Invitational presented by F-150 with EcoBoost from Kansas City, Missouri. Tune in at 8 Eastern to catch PBR only on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. We'll look at the season leaders. Shane Proctor trying to hold off Silvano Elvis. And the great Marco Iguchi.
Marco Iguchi. It's close up top there. I turned that on a few nights ago. Shane Proctor. What an exciting event to watch.
Holden Griner has all 8 for Lehigh of the second half. Make it all 9 for the Mountain Hawks this side of intermission. And meanwhile, Tony Johnson of Lafayette has scored 17 today. Got to be built for it tough here. At the Kirby Sports Center, there was a banana that ran by just a moment ago and nearly clipped us at the table. Very tight confines in the Kirby Sports Center. Sold out today for this matchup as Les Smith checks in to replace Seth Hinrichs.
This really is a great rivalry. The atmosphere has always been good. I remember it being one of the great places to play when I was at Army.
Blow by Johnson. Loves to go left and then finish with the right hand. And he now has 19. He's hit 7 of 8 from the floor, including all 3 threes. And really, the only regret with Tony Johnson is the lack of health throughout his career. What a career he's enjoyed. Yet incomplete last season because of a back injury. Now Lafayette helps to force a Lehigh turnover.
Well, here's one difference. Fran O'Hanlon has Les Smith on Mackie McKnight. So Johnson on the defensive end, not matching up against Mackie McKnight, having to guard him, giving him a chance to really save those legs and play on that offensive end, and vice versa. B.J. Bailey guarding Johnson. It's not McKnight. But part of that could be wanting to put size on both of those guards.
We've seen Griner take a turn, try to defend Johnson. Now Bailey, Knutson, and Trist going back at it in the low post. Double team, Trist continuing to ball fake to create.
Knutson did a nice job staying between Trist and the basket, forcing him to shoot over the top. But Trist would not be denied, kept that pivot foot.
McKnight found Bailey. Defended by Johnson, spins into the help defender, Trist forcing a miss. Knutson, though, with a chance to put it back and in.
It's another thing that paint penetration will do, forces help, and if a shot goes up, creates offensive rebounders there. Gabe Knutson, Dan Trist had to help up on Mackie McKnight, and Knutson on the spot with the offensive rebound.
2 years ago in a tight one, Knutson in similar fashion hit the game winner in the waning seconds. A putback of a miss inside.
Just the extra effort, we'll see the help. There's Dan Trist. The shot goes up, and sometimes a shot's better than a pass because you can go up, get the offensive board, and finish like Knutson does there.
Johnson with a head fake. Out to Tuszynski. Out of bounds, another turnover by Lafayette. 7th overall for the Leopards.
Well, Lafayette's going to need another guy to step up here. You know, Dan Trist has done it a little bit in this half. Seth Henricks has to get going. Joey Tuszynski off the bench has to get going. One of those guys has to provide a spark. Is Tony Johnson right now carrying Lafayette?
Think about it, they got 47 points from the trio of Geese, Tuszynski, and Henricks in the first matchup of these teams. All 3 for the Leopards have been contained to this point. Flanagan defends against Griner. Holden Griner goes to work in deep, and Knutson follows up once more, his second straight putback.
Knutson just showing that activity. And Dan Trist goes out of the game. Knutson takes advantage. Active on that offensive glass.
Johnson off the Flanagan screen. Bailey try to stay with him. Shot clock under 10. Bailey comes over on the steal.
It looked like Flanagan was looking at the shot clock on the other end of the floor. Didn't see Bailey step in and just take it from him.
McKnight keeps it alive to Schaefer.
You know, that's where if you're Flanagan, you have to be ready to shoot the basketball. Johnson got into the paint, drew help, kicked out to Flanagan, who wasn't ready to shoot.
Facing up this time, Knutson with a miss, and Tuszynski with a tough rebound. Well, the adjustments personnel-wise for Lafayette with both Smith and Flanagan on the floor at the moment. 2 guys who don't score a lot. Tuszynski generally does with a miss. Flanagan, though, in close, could not follow it up with a make. So 0 for 2 on that trip for Lafayette with an alley-oop from Bailey to Griner.
There may have been a foul on this other end for Lafayette. But my goodness, no foul called. Lehigh gets out. A beautiful delivery, and Holden Griner shows you the athleticism.
Out of the Lafayette timeout, Leopards facing their largest deficit of the day, having fallen behind Lehigh 55-47. Henricks open all the way. And the Leopards made 5 threes in the opening half to stay within 6 of Lehigh, but the Mountain Hawks today controlling the inside throughout. Getting a great second half in particular from Holden Griner. 12 this side of intermission for Griner, who has 18, though currently on the bench, alongside Knutson, who has scored 15 for the Mountain Hawks. Shot clock about to expire. Bailey is stripped by Johnson, got it back, but not enough time. Turnover by Lehigh. So we go to a timeout with Griner and Knutson coming back in on the other side. Lehigh by 8 in the rivalry. Lafayette students looking for a season sweep, subdued at this point. Their team trailing Lehigh by 8 as we look at our AT&T game summary.
This right here, points in the paint, has been the big difference in this game. Only 2 threes, or 3 on the game for Lehigh, 2 of them in this second half. But when a team is scoring 34 points in the paint, it puts so much pressure on your offense if you're Lafayette to have to match that production. So it's high percentage shots for Lehigh.
Those 2 threes in the second half for Lehigh, both supplied by Holden Griner, who along with Gabe Knutson have combined to score all 16 points for the Mountain Hawks in this half. 16 points for them in roughly 9 minutes of the second half. Both got a brief blow before the timeout. Now foul committed by Lafayette. Another turnover with an illegal screen for the Leopards.
Tough call there. Tony Johnson just coming on a dribble handoff. The ref got him for a block. I mean, you have to be set on that.
Chris, interesting move by Brett Reed before the official timeout. We had a Fran O'Hanlon decision to call timeout for Lafayette before the under-12 media stoppage. Brett Reed took that opportunity to give Knutson and Griner a little bit of rest, knowing that there was a media timeout around the corner. And Griner jacks up another. This one counts for 2. Holden Griner now with 20.
Well, it's a smart substitution decision if you're Brett Reed. You know, you sit him for 15 seconds of gameplay, but then you get that TV timeout, bring him back in, you extend their break.
Levi Geese, who hit 5 threes last month at Lehigh, connects from long range. Much needed tray right there for Lafayette. Griner facing up, draws the double. Good save by Bailey to Durazio. And Griner again into the fray, though taken away by Johnson. Senior savvy. Tony Johnson draws the foul on B.J. Bailey. can see why here at Lafayette they say, "In Tony we trust."
Just a smart play. Crosses that thing from back to front through his legs and really sells that shot fake. And as you said, a savvy play from your senior. He has shown you everything in his game today. At the basket, three-pointers, the creativity on the shot fake, getting fouled.
Tony Johnson now with 20 for Lafayette. Last Saturday against Bucknell in a 62-61 win. Johnson drove to the left of the lane, pulled up and faded away and hit a game winner with 4.5 seconds to go. Then against Holy Cross, his head coach Fran O'Hanlon was about to call timeout. Saw Johnson with the ball and let them play on, and Johnson hit a three with 3.5 seconds left to win it. Now he gets a bit of a breather, and Knudsen powers in. Too strong for Geese there.
Yeah, it's just too easy. Just goes right around Geese. You cannot give Knudsen an angle there. Part of it physicality, part of it your feet. Got to cut him off.
Les Smith on the drive. He scores the two, and Les Smith has doubled his per-game average for Lafayette.
He's done a nice job, Les Smith has. He's come in, given them defensive energy, has guarded the ball, and now giving them some point production on the drive.
And for the second time today, the officials hold up play momentarily. With some of the emotion of this rivalry, natural, given the frequency with which these teams play and also the proximity, separated by just 12 miles. Jeff Clark will go to the scorer's table as our lead official today.
I think Mackie McKnight was saying that there was an elbow thrown, and of course, an elbow, one of those things they can go to the monitor and look at, which the officials have done. It's on the drive.
Smith getting by Mackie McKnight. There you can see Mackie McKnight hit on the chin with that elbow.
I mean, he gets elbowed, but yeah, it's in it, but it's on the drive there. Certainly not intentional. But they don't, you know, we've seen in games, they don't make that distinction about intentionality. I mean,
Jeff Clark, one of the better officials, not only on the East Coast, but in the country, coming over with an explanation. Nothing flagrant on the drive. It's incidental contact in a sense, unless you're Mackie McKnight.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask Mackie McKnight. He didn't seem too pleased.
Well, he took the shot from Les Smith. Coming off what his head coach Brett Reed likened to a boxing match against Bucknell, with a couple of Patriot League heavyweights feeling one another out on Monday. And again, things tightening up inside. Foul on Flanagan. Alan Flanagan picks up his second. Knudsen to Griner. What a combination they've been for Lehigh. Tough catch in traffic by Knudsen. Rejected, though, by Geese.
Nicely done by Geese. Kept his feet, stayed straight up, timed it nicely. Got a piece of that shot from Dave Knudsen.
Lehigh is led by as many as 8 in the half. Lafayette down 5. Geese pick and pop, but he fumbled the pass from Scott. The shot clock counts down. Again, Smith on a drive. And a kick violation. So a break for Lafayette.
One of the things that Les Smith has done is he's shown an ability to get in that paint and has given Lafayette some penetration ability and allowed those shooters to space. And with the kick, the shot clock goes back to 15 seconds.
Les Smith, the guy who averages just under 7 minutes per game, didn't meet the Mountain Hawks on the floor last time they played. And he's getting extensive minutes today. After the shot clock was reset to 15, Hendricks breaking down the defense.
It's a nice drive, and Lafayette patient there, even with the 15 seconds on the clock. Seth Hendricks found the angle, turned the corner, and finished strong, even with B.J. Bailey coming over to try to block it.
Lafayette got only 8 points in the paint in the first half. They've matched that total in the second half. A rare miss by Glider. The Leopards with an opportunity to extend a 9-2 run. Johnson probing and pitching. Smith in trouble. Scott to Johnson. Timeout. Lehigh.
They're loving it here at Lafayette, and they should be. Their team executing to perfection.
Well, the Lafayette Leopards have trailed by as many as 8 in this half. But they've ratcheted up things defensively. Geese staying stout inside against Knutson.
They have done a much better job defensively, and on the other end, just drawing the help on a great cut, I should say, by Tony Johnson. And Lafayette this half, 10 of 13 from the field.
And you watch Lafayette again exploiting the back door on that cut by Johnson. No team did it better than the Princeton Tigers for so many years under Pete Carril, a Lafayette College grad and a former head coach at Lehigh. And if he's watching, he's certainly appreciating the backdoor play as executed today by the Leopards. Yep. Tony Johnson, 23 points on 8 of 9, shooting from the field.
That cut by Johnson, much like the one that beat UCLA for Princeton.
McKnight and company trying to maintain, if not expand the lead. But Glider turns it over. Johnson waits at the scorer's table. Leopards haven't led it since the game was 15-13. Scott for the lead. Back on top by 2.
Lafayette just being so patient, forcing Lehigh to play 20-plus seconds of defense into the shot clock and getting open looks when they want.
Bailey steps out for 3. B.J. Bailey rebuts for Lehigh.
That was a big-time response from B.J. Bailey.
How about the freshman Scott running the offense right now for Lafayette? Geese on the pick and pop for 3. Anything you can do? Levi Geese now with 8 overall. Last 3 field goals, all for 3 between Lehigh and Lafayette. McKnight works off the Knutson screen. And a foul off the ball. Mismatch underneath. Whistle takes us to a timeout. Chris
Raining threes here in Easton. B.J. Bailey puts them up 1, but then Lafayette responds. Levi Geese gives Lafayette the lead.
5.5 minutes to go here at Lafayette. Leopards by 2 over Lehigh, which led by as many as 8 this side of halftime, with a look back at our keys to the game.
Lehigh's done a nice job, not turning it over. Lafayette really hasn't forced a whole lot of turnovers here today. And then getting back, Lafayette doing a nice job. Only 4 fast break points from Lehigh. We saw the alley-oop this half. But both teams playing head-to-head as we get to 5 minutes here in the game.
And remarkable shooting once again by Lafayette overall in this game, including 4 for 6 from three-point range in the second half alone. And you've got to keep in mind, Lehigh as a team has held the opposition this year to 28% shooting beyond the arc. And yet for the second straight game, Lafayette tearing it up from long range. Knutson draws the double. Gabe Knutson, jump hook over a pair, gets the bounce.
Out of the timeout, Brett Reed going right back into Gabe Knutson, forcing Lafayette to play post defense.
Knutson now with 19 for the Mountain Hawks. Tony Johnson has led the way for Lafayette with 23. But the difference in the second half, he's gotten more help. Guy draws the screen from Flanagan. Jacks up a 3. Tony Johnson 4 for 4 outside the arc.
Really, Lafayette has been so much more patient this half. 4 seconds there on that shot clock. So big, you're forcing Lehigh to play defense for extended stretches.
Meanwhile, a 10th turnover by the Mountain Hawks. Consider they committed only 4 on Monday against Bucknell. Lehigh averages 11 turnovers per game. And again, 10 giveaways in this contest. Tony Johnson had 25 against Penn, 85-83. The result at the Palestra ended a 22-game losing streak for Lafayette against the Quakers in Philly. A miss rebounded by Kaczynski. And now Johnson has fouled in the corner. And that win over the Penn Quakers really ignited this run for Lafayette. And the Leopards have been the hottest team in the Patriot League over the course of the last month. They've won 9 of 13 overall, 6 of 8 in conference.
Nice job here. Your senior point guard calls for the ball with a touch foul. Both teams have 4 fouls, so not even close to the bonus here yet.
McKnight picked up the last for Lehigh. Kaczynski missed. Tap out by Trist. Nice play and a 3rd chance on this trip for Lafayette. Chris, we've seen Brett Reed periodically pick some spots to try to rest his guys. Maybe they're starting to fatigue a bit. Scott open for 3, missed it short. Another chance for Lafayette, hitting the offensive board. And Johnson is all by his lonesome. Tony Johnson has hung a high 5 on Lehigh, 5 for 5 from long range.
He is completely taken over this basketball game and made it the Tony Johnson show. It is raining threes for Lafayette in this second half. But Tony Johnson, with his ability to set his team up, get them into their offense, create looks for other guys, and oh, by the way, knock it down himself. What a job.
Lehigh opponents overall this season average fewer than 6 threes made per game. Tony Johnson has 5 today for Lafayette. It's been a Spatola-like shooting performance. My partner once the source of a 43-point outburst in this building. Tony Johnson again has now scored 29 to equal his career best.
Well, sometimes with competitors, with great players, they'll do whatever needs to be done to win. And for a Tony Johnson, a guy who, like you said, doesn't typically shoot threes, to have 5 today, it's not about whether I can shoot or not. It's about, I'm doing what we need to do to win. And boy, is he ever putting his imprint on this basketball game.
Tony Johnson in our CBS I file among the conference leaders. So many categories, including #1 in field goal percentage, #1 in steals. Scoring and assists right there as well among the league leaders.
That's what we're saying. This is the last time he's ever going to play in a regular season against Lehigh. You know, I felt the same way in my last game against Navy.
Levi Geese swats away Knutson. Another rejection for the Lafayette shot blocker.
Mackie McKnight saved it for Lehigh. But only for the moment. Possession back to the Leopards, who've engineered an 18-5 run here at home.
Much better job protecting the basket. Get it out of here, Gabe Knutson. Come on.
Here at Lafayette, Leopards have ripcord with 11 threes today. Great outside shooting, contagious in this gym.
Oh, Gordon Hayward-esque on the miss. My heart did not stand still on that one, though, like it did when Hayward's shot left his hands.
Chris Patola on the Duke bench in 2010 in Indianapolis, when Gordon Hayward nearly delivered the improbable for the Butler Bulldogs. Tony Johnson, as we've well documented today, not only an outstanding player across the board, Chris, statistically, but this is a guy who's had that penchant of producing game winners, and when this contest is hanging in the balance, he's taking over again for the Leopards. Drives and gives it to Scott, who finds Hinrichs. Hinrichs misses for two. Last four made field goals by Lafayette, all from three-point range. 6-point advantage for the Leopards. They've been down by 8 in the half. DeRazia drives and travels. Turnover, Lehigh. Number 11 for the Mountain Hawks.
We talk about the difference for Lafayette in this second half offensively. They are playing exactly how Fran O'Hanlon says they play at their best. They're penetrating, getting in the paint, the ball is moving, and they are creating closeouts, and they're knocking down those open shots this half.
Timeout called by Fran O'Hanlon. Well, within earshot of Paul Hovenen.
You know, Fran O'Hanlon's look of exasperation is as good as anybody's. He is one of the best.
He was a great player at Villanova, drafted in the NBA, wound up playing extensively overseas. And what a career he's put together here at Lafayette College. Try to add another win over Lehigh to the resume. And you look at the reset, 2 timeouts remain for each. Neither right now a threat to be in the bonus, let alone the double bonus. The possession arrows, you can see not once but twice on your screen, points in favor of Lehigh.
Bob, how about this? We've now played 3 halves, almost 4. In the first 3 halves, neither team made the bonus. Both teams had 4 fouls here in this half. We could have 4 halves where neither team makes the bonus. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
McKnight all over Johnson. Well, they're letting them play as you like to see in a rivalry game. Johnson sets up Trist. Contact there. The bucket goes.
Tony Johnson, Tony Johnson, Tony Johnson drew the help from Knutson, and Trist played along the baseline for the finish.
McKnight can't answer. Hendrick strung on the boards. Johnson again to Trist.
Tony Johnson, Tony Johnson, Tony Johnson, and Dan Trist, the beneficiary on those last 2 plays.
You can't say it enough. And I believe that Lehigh fans are going to be hearing that name.
Look at the
On a
touch.
sleepless night.
Makes like Tom Brady. To a running Gronkowski. Finishing.
Maybe they won't hear the echoing of Tony Johnson's name, but again, for Lehigh fans, players, and coaches, they're going to see him repeatedly in their nightmares after this one. Tony Johnson has taken over this game for Lafayette. The Leopards have a 10-point lead.
You know what it is, Bob, and I really enjoyed watching Johnson, but no more than today. It's a senior who's refusing to lose in this game against their rival Lehigh.
27-7 run for Lafayette. With the pass in deep, and there's Johnson creating another Lehigh turnover. McKnight gives up the foul on Scott.
And folks, Lafayette is going to take over second place in this league.
Lafayette will complete a regular season sweep of Lehigh, and again, seeding's imperative in any conference, but especially in the Patriot League, because every game in the conference tournament is played on campus. Tony Johnson this time on the receiving end. McKnight. Under a minute to go, Holden Griner +1. Whatever the outcome, he's a guy, again to borrow the cliche, who's refused to lose today.
Just a turnover in the backcourt there. You might hold the ball, call timeout, and then really the only mistake Johnson's made today, just a bad foul. Let Griner shoot that, take it out of bounds.
So the conventional three-point play, Griner cuts into the Lafayette lead with the clock frozen at 55.5. Schaefer is on for the Hawks. Going small to Chase. They've got to give up some fouls to put Lafayette in the bonus, and Schaefer does immediately.
So the next one, they'll be in that penalty. And fortunately for Lafayette, as a team, they shoot 73% on the year from the foul line. Of course, when the game's on the line, much different pressure level.
Although in the case of the Leopards, they've even been better this year, right around 80% in the final 5 minutes of games. Kozinski has to inbound, going 4 against 5. With Lehigh not guarding the inbounder, and Schaefer again spills to the floor after the foul by the Mountain Hawks, and now Lafayette is in the 1-and-1. Les Smith has attempted only 3 free throws all season, 2 for 3 for the Lafayette junior. Bucknell up big over Holy Cross. Meanwhile, Colgate wins another today at home over Navy.
Well, that one big, certainly for both these teams playing here today. Bucknell really controlling their destiny for that #1 seed in the Patriot League tournament.
Smith delivers. Last year, Lehigh beat Bucknell in the conference championship. Mountain Hawks hosted their first 2 tournament games. Bison, of course, on the Circuit Pavilion court for all 3. Bucknell atop the conference standings, as you could see, and Lafayette is about to move into the 2nd spot. with a sweep of Lehigh. So the Leopards can craft their own destiny, guarantee themselves a quarterfinal home game and possibly a semifinal home game. And of course, the winner as well has an opportunity still, mathematically, to win the regular season championship.
Well, Lafayette clearly has been much better at home this year. This will, if they win here today, that'll put them at 11-3 at home. They're only 4-11 on the road. So when you talk about a higher seed getting home court advantage, something Lafayette would be really important for them.
Holding Griner on the drive, tried to drop it off for Stefan Severkai. Brett Reed trying to lengthen this game in one sense. With 40 seconds to go. Griner driving and a foul on Geese.
Well, part of, like you're saying, Bob, part of lengthening the game, they're not settling for threes, Lehigh. They're attacking that basket. And here, if you're Geese, step up and take a charge. You're kind of in between there, whether you're going to block his shot or step in there, try to take that charge, potentially end the game on a play like that.
Around the rim and down for holding Griner. He and Gabe Knutson today have combined to score 26 of the 29 second half points for Lehigh. Knutson again to rest, a little defense for offense at the moment. Again, Brett Reed putting players on the court simply to foul, trying to lengthen the game with 37 seconds to go. Schaefer and Smith check back in for Lehigh and Lafayette respectively. And the Hawks not guarding the ball. Mackie McKnight gives up the immediate foul against Levi Geese. But it's good scouting too. Geese 56% from the foul line.
Well, what Fran O'Hanlon is trying to do there, you have Joey Tosinski take out the basketball. You know, Lehigh going to leave Geese open, but Geese right there tried to give it right back to Tosinski. Lehigh able to foul before it comes in, and this is going to come down to making free throws.
Geese on the 1-and-1. Perfect with that form there. He was 14 of 25 from the stripe before that release.
Doesn't shoot a lot, only 25 on the year. Part of that, he shoots a lot of threes. 2/3 of the shots on the year are three-point shots.
Now the Lafayette lead at 9, still conceivably a three-possession game. With 35.4 to go, Fran O'Hanlon calls the timeout to set his defense. Been a very entertaining men's game, of course, here in the Patriot League. And coming up next, the ladies take the court as the Bonnies of St. Bonaventure take on the Colonials of George Washington. Tune in next to see women's college basketball from the A10 only on the CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Chris, Lehigh has attacked the basket to this point. Now with 35.9 to go for the Mountain Hawks. Do you resort to the three-point shot, or do you continue with that track they've been on?
Well, it depends on how many more possessions you can get out of this game. And I think, you know, you take obviously the first open three. Here, Lafayette going to pick up, make them inbound in the full court, and take some time off the clock.
So McKnight hurries it to the forecourt for holding Griner. And he'll drive and attack. Tough pass to complete. And Knutson unable to hold on. Meanwhile, Johnson hits the deck for Lafayette.
This will be 3 losses in a row for Lehigh, assuming they end up losing with 25 seconds left here.
It will be the first 3-game skid for the Mountain Hawks. And again, they've played this entire Patriot League campaign without C.J. McCollum, who was the nation's leading scorer. And he broke the 5th metatarsal in his left foot against VCU in early January. And here is Bryce Scott the line for Lafayette, rolls off to Griner.
When you mention McCollum, with the way that Lehigh has struggled, the questions get louder. Will he be back for the tournament?
Griner knifes to the goal on the second chance, holding Griner with a career best, now with 27 points. McCollum, by the way, as Lehigh spends the timeout, has been doing some work in the pool, trying to keep up his cardiovascular conditioning. He's also taken shots from a seated position on the court. He's been shooting from a chair, also doing some one-footed shooting, Chris. So he's trying to maintain his touch, doing some weightlifting as well, looking to increase his strength. Lehigh hoping that there's a chance C.J. McCollum can come back for the postseason. All-time leading scorers at Lehigh. McCollum's total, by the way, represents the highest scoring figure in Patriot League history. Darren Queenan played prior to the Patriot League's existence.
Well, what I've seen from Lehigh over the last 3 games, all of which they've lost, is their bench is not giving them production. And one of the things in not having McCollum is your bench shortens. You lose a ball handler and obviously a guy who puts up a lot of points. You know, these 3 main scorers, McKnight, Griner, and Knutson for Lehigh, there's a lot of pressure on them to play a lot of minutes, to score, and then also to defend.
DeRazio gives up the foul in the backcourt. A lot of hidden points, too, because McCollum is so good getting to the line, scoring a lot from the stripe, setting up easy opportunities for his teammates. Guy's a 50% shooter from long range.
No, look, he's going to be a lottery pick. Even with the broken foot, he's going to be chosen in the lottery. He had 30 points against Duke last year in the NCAA tournament. I mean, to lose a guy like that, and that's why we were talking about the job that Brett Reed has done with his team this year, is remarkable considering the loss of that production. What I think, though, is as good as they have been without him up to these last 3 games that they've lost, they're starting to wear down a little bit. And so, again, the question becomes, will he be back for the tournament, and how does that affect them?
Meanwhile, Lafayette has positioned itself so well heading into the Patriot League tournament, just over a week. Leopards on the verge of a 15th win overall, but an 8th in conference play. This is a team that began the season at 1-6. They were tested in some very difficult venues early. They played against Kentucky, Maryland, Minnesota, Stanford, all the way from home. But boy, they are rolling now here at the Kirby Sports Center. They closed out this game on a 32-12 run.
Yeah, down 8 at the half, and they gave the guys dressed as bananas a chance to attack the floor. There is no hotter team right now in the Patriot League than Lafayette. They are going up, up, and up. And the story, the big story from today, senior Tony Johnson.
So, Chris, they are literally going bananas here at the Kirby Sports Center in Easton, Pennsylvania. And with good reason. The Leopards taking control in the second half. They trailed by 10 about midway through the second half, and again come back to win it 79-71. So again, a great turnout in a sold-out Kirby Sports Center. These fans got exactly what they wanted. A great game, a terrific performance by Tony Johnson, the senior, with his 29 points, and a win over the arch rival as Lafayette completes the sweep of the Lehigh Mountain Hawks to move into second place here in the Patriot League. And for Chris Patola and our entire crew, I'm Bob Sosi. For scores, highlights, features, and more, go to CBSSports.com. This has been a presentation of the CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Johnson again with 29 for Lafayette. In 10 of 12 from the field, 5 for 5 from three-point range. And the Leopards win the 216th edition of the rivalry. Now let's take you out to Washington, D.C. for St. Bonaventure and George Washington in women's basketball. Here's John Sadat. At table? Okay. You want Chris to do it by himself? Yeah, go ahead.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, you do it, Chris. Yeah. How do you want Chris to take it?
Okay. Thank you.
You could, Chris.